Hello there. As you can see, it's me, Scrivo. I'm in my little hobby hole studio little room. And today, rather than doing an art stream like I did 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting here doing some painting with you guys. Rather than doing it this camera for the whole thing, I've actually got another setup ready. So I'm going to quickly change to that setting. And you can see my hands. So this is all a bit scuffed because I'm just set it up today, just trying to make it kind of a bit more functioning. But yeah, if you guys are in the chat, just let me know what you're hobbying on. Obviously, a lot of you are probably prepping for last minute painting for the weekend, which is often the thing, right? So we can all hobby along together. But as you can see, I am painting what was the Khan on a floaty jet bike. It's now Sammael, which I think is a much cooler model, but I may be a little biased. But yeah, so I've got multiple cameras. This one's set on autofocus at the moment. I don't know if it's going to be better, but it means that I don't have a set place where I have to put the model, but at least it gives you guys some sort of a feeling for it. So I converted this up months ago and then was like, yeah, I'm going to get straight to that. And then I never did anything with it. So I was like, you know what? If I'm doing the first hobby stream, I will work on him, because I am a great believer in jinxing any sort of progress I have on my hobby. So as soon as I converted up some Orc War buggies, I got told that there was new buggies coming. I did an Azrael. I had probably 8 months of using that before we got the new model, maybe a little bit longer. So me making a Primaris or updated plastic version of something is always a guarantee that there's going to be a new model. And I'm fine with that, because this is going to be a cool thing. At the very worst, I can use this as a Talon Master or something, even if it needs a rebasing. If we eventually get a captain on a bike, he could probably work for one of them as well. That'll be good fun. So Grush keyboard, good show. Yeah, so hand just more to where our hands are. That's a pretty good shout. There we go. This is all a bit new to me, so I'm used to having things like Photoshop where I can just be like, here you go, this is where I'm working, and it's just the whole screen. So it won't be perfect, but yeah. And this is very much mostly the Khan. I took off anything vaguely kind of ornamental that was their sort of style. So you might notice that like along here it's a bit scuffed, but I kind of like the idea that it just looked a bit kind of worn. On this side where I had to take some of it off, I've put this bit from the old Ravenwing upgrade sprue, which I think it was pretty fun to do. Clean off all of their kind of the gumph. Things like the seat I left originally, I was kind of like a bit unsure, but I like the fact that he's got like a slightly nice looking seat, especially when he's got his own jet bike. So, and I've obviously not got him on the pill-shaped base that the model normally goes on now, just purely because I thought he should at least match what Sammael should be on for now. But we're going to do some. I'm going to do some kind of crusadey, narrative-y things with some of the boys. So I figured I might as well just get some more of my characters done as well, because these are the sort of things when I'm playing like a more silly, more relaxed kind of just taking stuff I want to take. I like being able to just go, well, I can take as Sammael and not worry that he's not the most efficient choice. So I think that's often the thing to remember when kind of doing these sorts of games. So sometimes if I'm not having to worry about match play, why not just use something a bit more fun? And clearly I needed more painting of mounted stuff, because over the last kind of couple of weeks I was painting up some Rough Riders for Jack, who apparently, because he'd played so much fantasy, hated painting cavalry, so he was like, can anyone else paint it for me? But yeah, they were fun. Something I don't think I'd ever get to paint otherwise, because I don't see myself doing a guard army anytime soon, but at the same time, always keen to help others out, so yeah. So Marco Robertshaw is in the chat saying he's slap shopping 10 Casakin for the weekend. That's cool. Is that for a grizzled list, I'm guessing? Because that seems to be the default for guard these days, right? Which is fine. That's the one thing I don't enjoy about sometimes with 40k specifically, is that there's always not always, but there tends to be a certain points in kind of an edition, you'll have it like a solved answer to how you should be playing an army, and it always feels a shame that there isn't multiple avenues, but there is always one that kind of has its head above the pulpit a bit more, perhaps. So, not very much like I did a video today that went out about Warhorde for 40k for orcs, and it's like it is probably one of the most comfortable ways to play orcs. But I wish there was more choice and more variety. Like, sure, you can do Dread Mob. I'm seeing people exploring more Daka again, but it's a shame, right? Because you kind of want an army to have more. Like, I think the one success of this edition for me with Space Marines was that there is comfortably quite a few different ways I can competitively play them as well, and not just changing the chapter, of course. And I think that was a success, but it hasn't worked for every army. I don't think everyone was equal. I think CSM did pretty well out of it as well. I'm not used to this whole where my camera is where I need to put my model as well. So apologies already, guys, because you're seeing my shaky hands as well, which is very fascinating. Because everyone's like, oh, you must be a really good painter because you're an artist guy. You do all that stuff. It's like, no, it's something I do struggle with at times. I can steady my hands as much as everyone else, but. So my plan is, for my birthday, I'm running a little RTT, and I've said to everyone that they can bring legends, they can bring the Crucible of Champions stuff that's in the new Maelstrom pack. I was like, cool, that sounds all fun. It's not game breaking, it's not something we'll normally get to play, so let's just get a bit weird. So my current plan is, I've got a lot of sword guys. Oh, pardon me. I just muted myself, that's clever. And then thought I'd unmuted myself, but never. Sword guys in a Spartan. So my theory here is I jinxed how they were handling Forge World Heresy stuff, because I started building and painting my Spartan that I'd had sat in a cupboard for like probably 18 months. The week I basically made headway on it, they announced that they were putting them all into Legends, and I was just like, oh, well, fuck me then. So it sat behind me and I'm like, oh, this is fine. I'll get to it at some point. Maybe I'll use it, blah, blah, blah. And I've never needed to. So, but yeah, so one of my big things I was treating myself to at Christmas was this nice big wet palette out of my Christmas money. I don't use it as much as I probably should, but it's definitely the better option for a lot of situations. I found I don't really get along with using it for metallics though. So I'm still using a lot of Pringle lids. That's my secret palette tech. But alright, let's get. So what I'm going to do now is do a bit of metals. So Rob, I see you in the chat. What are you working on? Did you say you're painting Ravenwing bikes? Perfect. So my next thing, because I've got 6 Ravenwing, well, Outriders. I love the idea of doing an Outrider character using the Crucible stuff. Probably something like a Librarian on a bike. We used to have them. I don't know if we'll ever get them back, but the way I'd convert it is so that I could then take the character off and make it into a normal guy. That and a character Dreadnought. They're the two that I'm planning to do just because they are not the most sensible of options, but at the same time, don't bloody care. Like, right. So my kind of change to my kind of technique with metals is for a long time I was just like, I'm a lead belcher boy, I just do lead belcher. I've been converted, so I use a lot of iron hand steel now. Just, I find as a base it's very nice to work from. So this bike makes me feel like they're going to do maybe a unit of them, but I feel like that might not be a thing they do. I haven't read the lore behind Mr. Khan's bike, but if it's anything like the one that they had for Sammael, it's an old relic, or in his case probably a bit more experimental, so maybe it's something they're not going to mass produce, but we'll see. Yeah, the problem with like giving everything access to jump packs and bikes is that then there is no downside. Although I do like the idea of having tech marines riding behind things, because there's nothing worse than you're going, right, this tank moves 10 inches, my tech marine has to literally run behind it, because otherwise it doesn't keep up. That always feels a shame. So I spent a lot of time working on how to make the gun not look so gormless. So originally I tried doing it as like a pintle mounted thing. I tried to undersling it so that it was a bit more of the gun, but it just stuck out too much. So I ended up kind of settling for just having it kind of built into the front. And it doesn't need to make sense, it's 40k after all. Yeah. So all the rumours I keep hearing is that there will be some more Ravenwing stuff, and with all this stuff, I hear it, I go, cool, that sounds like someone's wish listing. And so I just hold fire. I'm just like, cool, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, yeah, whatever, cool. Can't hurt me, because I'm never going to be surprised either way. But yeah. But you never say never, right? Because there was a time where it looked like they were going to get rid of things like, or at least less of things like Terminators. Like they seem to be kind of trying to do more of a Primaris angle of like the heavies and all the Gravis stuff being kind of a replacement, and then they double back on it. So maybe they'll do the same with some of the other stuff. Like I'd love to have more of a traditional land speeder, like a smaller thing. So I did enjoy what they did in the game. Granted, they were very cool and very solid as well, but it's kind of iconic. It's like the Land Raider. I can't see them get rid of that. If they do, I feel like it's a mistake. But yeah, I've painted so many of these grav like plates on vehicles now, because I've got 2 gladiators, a repulsor, an executioner. Yeah, I've done enough of them now. I'd like some other vehicles to paint. I suppose, yeah, the Storm Speeder's got them as well. Yeah. I've kept the music like I did last time, but I'm not sure whether it'll breach copyright. It's supposedly copyright free, but we'll see. So, just like the vibe that we had last time of just chilled, listening to some lo-fi, doing something whilst I chat to you guys. So, originally I was going to have a guest tonight, but that guest was so devoted to coming that he hadn't even realised it was his birthday today. So happy birthday to Mr. Lohman. It was very funny when he was like, actually I can't, someone's pointed out to me it's my birthday on Thursday. And I was like, oh, that's fine, buddy, I'll just get you in another time. But yeah, so yeah, happy birthday to him. Yes. Hearing more and more rumours about orcs as well, which I find fascinating. That there's so much, like, it's very interesting that you get people like Valrak, who seems to be quite often way too right about rumours, but at the same time doesn't seem to know the faction at all in any way that makes it helpful. So all these rumours I keep hearing about what orcs are going to be are such vaguely and badly descriptive things. I'm just like, we'll just wait and see now, guys. I just don't care. I don't care enough. So when you think about it, it's Adepticon in March. It's probably when they're going to announce, or at least reveal or tease some of it. So that's not even a month away. So Rob's planning on using Hellblaster bits to turn his firstborn bikes back into Black Knights. Yeah, makes sense. See, I've got this weird limbo of my Black Knights. I've got them primed, they're sprayed black, like Corvus black I think it is, but I don't feel motivated to paint them because I just don't know what they've got, what length they've got. Like, are we going to just see them on like outrider style bikes? Is something's coming, right? Just, if I wouldn't be a gambling man and just do it, because I'll do something stupid like build a character because it brings me joy and enjoyment, right? And it's a thing I can display, right? Yes, so the AdMech article where they revealed these new kind of 3 gun drone type guys, it said something bigger, said something big. So I keep hearing murmurings about something maybe Questoracy, which I find fascinating that like multiple sources keep saying similar things. Like, the one thing I don't think we need to see more of is nose though. That might be because I've had to play against them so much in the Teams format recently. I'm just like, nope. So when they weren't up heavily at ITT, I was relieved, I've got to be honest. But we'll see. I still honestly think for Imperial Knights they should do kind of the serfs doing like some sort of infantry to be with them. Like, making it so you don't need to ally stuff in to get a bit of infantry in to mix things up. I think that'd be such a good solution, but having them with like buggies chasing after things to repair them and pick up broken things and bring all the equipment to do on the road kind of repairs and stuff would be cool, right? See, the thing I'd like it to be, if it's not Knights related though, would be I would like to see a Chaos tank of some sort. And I'm not saying like, here's a Land Raider, we've put spikes on it, go. Like their own, like the Playburst Crawler, where you look at it and go, that's clearly a heresy vehicle that has kind of progressed. And I'd like to see something where it's like that, but a bit more universal. So you don't have to rely on just using just demon engines as well, because as we're seeing, they've kind of done this with the Red Corsairs, that you can have heretics and traitors. They don't need to be traitors that are heretics. They can be heretics that can be all demonic-y and all that way, and then you can have just pirates, guys that aren't loyal or were loyal but they got told they weren't loyal so they had to go out on their own anyway. Or the other one that I'm really hoping they don't do is Fallen, because I've now seen people building and painting Corsairs as Fallen, so I'm like, I should do that. And that is going to guarantee that there'll be new models. Because it feels like good kill team fodder like the Nemesis Claw, or a couple of units like they've done for the Red Corsairs. But we'll have to see. I do love the idea of kind of fleshing these sorts of things out by just adding flavour through models. Sam Dunn's in the chat. He's building his last big WTC rune. So Sam, I believe, was it best overall you were at the GT South? It was the Terrain Forge terrain pack, which is really nice stuff, guys. They're currently changing their manufacturing process, so I can't even link you to it because they're not currently selling the stuff. But they are probably my favourite WTC format terrain because they're wooden ruins, but they've got detailing on them that hides that they're wooden, like just flat ruins. But also they have this lovely thing where the bases have got well-defined kind of silhouettes of where the ruin should sit. So when you take them off, it gives you a vibe of where the ruin would sit. But a lot of them you don't, and you're like, cool, I've just got to guess where I'm supposed to not put my bottles. And it's hard enough already, right? Cool. Sam walks around wearing his crown around the house. Yeah. Gotta hide that bald spot somehow, right? I'm a monster, aren't I? I only say it because my hair is amazing, apparently. the one thing I have going for me is that it's not at least falling out. Going grey though. Like all my armies, eventually they will be grey or black or a bit of both. Yeah, on the weekend it was the RTT series first event. That was really fun. So originally I was going to play at it, then we got a golden ticket, so I was like, okay, I don't really want to try playing a tournament that I'm supposed to be taking a little bit more seriously. So I was like, cool, I'll step back. Sold the ticket, funnily enough, because people want to go to golden ticket events apparently. And then I was like, cool, do you know what the sensible thing would be? I will go to the Warhamsters Invitational the next day. And so I did, but I set myself a challenge because it was a Highlander event, so everything was centered around, you could take no more than one of every unit, even battle line, even vehicles, dedicated transports was the word I was trying to think of. It was fine, so I thought, you know what, to make this challenge even more challenging, I'm going to take the freebooter crew. So this submission was so late in the day intentionally to allow as many rules as possible. So I think Sam rolled it back to the Friday, even though Wednesday was probably enough for me to throw together an adequate list as it was. And it was good fun. I'm doing a video next week about that detachment, but the TLDR is having any detachment rule centered around objectives is always challenging. I found that when I was playing the Dark Angels one. Oh, what's it called? The Lion's Blade? No, that's not it. Inner Circle Task Force. It's fine, but if your opponent has some control over when you can use your abilities, it becomes a problem, right? So having that situation where you could be like, oh, cool, start of the battle round, I'm picking this. It'd be fine if it was start of your turn, but for this one specifically, for Freebooter Crew, it's start of the battle round. You pick an objective that you are going to have that you're sustained in both shooting and melee from, and some of the other stuff kind of triggers off of it. It being start battle round meant that my first game I went into good stuff, Blood Angels, and I went second. So he had a whole turn of planning his entire turn around where I was probably going to be most strength, like my strength was going to be. So he avoided that, and it was fine, but it just meant that the whole game sped up even more. It wasn't even like potentially a game that was going to be like close. I think I could have played it maybe a bit better, but it was one of those situations where I was like, okay, cool, I don't get my detachment rule half the time. This is fine. But in my other two games, I went first, and it was much better. So I think that's a simple fix for it, is if they want to have these sorts of rules, make it based on your turn. Like the WAR. So when they first set up the WAR, and it was challenging. Oh, I've just had a really weird, so the video I put up earlier, I posted about it on Reddit, and I just had the notification come up, and a guy just went, no way dude, literally picking your brains in the shop earlier about my new Orc army, and then this pops up. Yeah, there's one of my local guys who is quite a dedicated Death Guard player. He's been borrowing some of his friends' Orcs and kind of mixing it up. I had to talk him out of buying a Gorkanaut, because I was just like, I'm not sure if your second model in your army is the right one to go with. The decision got made with a little bit of encouragement from me, was the Tankbuster kit, because you can build it as Breaker Boys or them or a mixture, because they're a new kit as well. So obviously a lot of the Orc stuff's in flux in my opinion. Like, boys will exist, whether the right war gear loadout. I can't say to someone honestly like, oh, by the way, just buy them, they're fine, just because it gets off my shelf. That's not how in my day job, that's not how I roll. So I was quite keen to kind of be fair with the guy and just like, that's cool to see. Like, yeah, his first purchase was probably the most exciting model you could build and paint as just like a first attempt, which was the Big Mac, which I still look at and go, this is such a cool model. I think if I have an excuse to build a second one, I will. Let's put it that way. Right. Let me show you. This is what I've started doing with my Dark Angels symbols as well. Is I've got Vallejo. They're pale blue grey. So I used to use a lot of Celestra grey. But if any of you guys that know Citadel paints have experienced it, it's quite chalky. And I found that really frustrating, especially when I was trying to thin it, put it through an airbrush. So I started looking at other options. And for the greys, I really enjoyed the Vallejo ones, especially when you can buy like their normal paint and then the air. The trick I've started doing more so as well is I'm using just the air paint as my my normal paint because it's just easier. Oh, I've been brought a cup of tea. Isn't this wonderful? Thank you, dear.
Hi, Internet.
There we go. Yeah, I found it was a lot easier than the chalkiness, but also it gave me something I could then airbrush without fear of having to over thin it. The chalkiness I always found meant that even if I was doing something like a dreadnought, you'd see some kind of streaks and kind of build up, and I never liked that. So always upset me a little bit that, especially with my Deathwing Knights, instead of being bone are white, because I went with the old Deathwing from Space Hulk from like the 80s, because I'm old. I like old things. I like the comfort of it. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Sam, she's already gone, but I'll tell her you said hi. Yeah. And that's a really weird bit of deep lore of our local community. Like, Sam and I actually live relatively close to each other, and we both have wives called Emma, so when we're having a conversation, it's often like, well, my Emma, and it comes across like quite strangely. You kind of like, if you're saying the wrong like context of a name, it can be quite confusing in a conversation. So very strange. I suppose it's like anything when it's relatively common names like John and Emma and Sam. I was about to say Scrivo. Scrivo is not a common name, although there is a lot of people on the internet that use it as a shortening. Apparently, I discovered many times after I adapted the moniker. Yeah. It was not a name I chose, it was given to me. Yeah, this is basically how I end up painting a lot of the time. Is I'm not one of these people that focuses on kind of doing things like pre-shading and all that fancy stuff. It always ends up me. Oh god, Sam saying he was just in his Crocs and his crown the other day, and that was probably on his way to work, no doubt. Yeah, the way I tend to approach painting is I do all the flat colours, feel happy with that, then I kind of then start worrying about tidying it up as well. Like, I found I used to spend so much time just trying to get the basics like neatly that I'd never get anywhere, so I tend to just block everything out, especially working in to out, if that makes sense. So like, I did the cloak first just before the stream, because kind of reaching in and getting to those bits, if I haven't painted other stuff, I don't need to worry about it kind of catching bits I've painted. So like, the pouch under there is going to be quite easy to do after the fact. Oh, there we go, and I've got the chat coming up on the screen as well. All the fancy stuff's working tonight. This is cool. Do let me know how the audio levels are as well, because I set this all up a week ago, or 2 weeks ago now. It seemed to be all alright. Eyeballing all the sound and stuff. Obviously, I've done silly things like turning my computer off and on again since then, so who knows. Yeah, so the next one of these I'll probably do some art again, but what I'm going to do is the one after that I'm going to book in my first guest. I'm going to get a member of the Plus on, so that you guys can get to meet some of the guys that aren't in the content team perhaps as well, because I think we're almost at 30 members now. Like, there is quite the depth of different styles of hobbyists, approaches and playing, what people work kind of in industry wise, and I find it fascinating that like wargaming as a thing brings people from so many different walks of life. There's definitely a bias of this has always been the way for wargaming. Like for the historical side of things, there's always a lot of police, always a lot of military, because it's war games, right? Doesn't surprise me too much. But these days, there seems to be such a kind of different breakdown of what people do for work, and it's the sort of people that their day-to-day work life wouldn't necessarily cross over with other people they'd meet at the club and become quite good friends with. Like, I find that very interesting that a hobby can bring people from very different approaches together, all to share the love of a hobby and hatred of dice rolling ones into ones. It's very cool. So I've got all my bits like that. I think that'll be gold. So he's got on. So one of the bits I kept was this circle kind of bit there. It's not a tilting shield, but it's something similar. And I'm not sure what that's meant to. Like, I think on the Khan model it ends up being silver. It's probably going to do that with the Dark Angels thing. I'll probably do it in the red that I have for my shoulders, or maybe the gold. I think gold maybe makes more sense. But it's interesting, so I think that'll be fun there. I've got a little bit of this white left over on my brush, so what I'm going to do is do the other thing I often do is I end up painting several models at once, where I just don't want to use up the paint or waste the paint. So this is, I bought cheap a Helbrecht, yeah, and made an Azrael / Chapter Master out of him, and I really liked it. I then went and got given another Azrael to because I was going to paint up a new Azrael at some point anyway, but someone did gift me an Azrael, so I painted that for LGT instead of doing this. And so this model has just sat there. So as part of this new being a bit more narrative with my gaming and doing some of the more weirder end of edition stuff, I'm focusing on getting some of this stuff done as well, because otherwise it'll sit there, right? For like the launch box will drop sort of early summer. By the time I've finished that, I'll have forgotten about these again, and I'll find them in a box in a year's time, and I'll be like, oh, that would have been fun to have done. But no, instead, doing it now, getting it done. And 10 has just said, I think I may for now be done with the bottom half, the simple half of Call. Yeah, Belisarius Call is not a model I look at and go, oh, that's a quick one to quickly get done about already. Like, it's a beautiful model, don't get me wrong. It's fantastic what it offers you as a painter, but as potentially something you'd always want in your army, it's a nightmare. It's like, the lion is not the easiest of models to paint, but comparatively, so much more straightforward. Yeah, and to circle back round to chatting about Saturday's RTT, the one thing we did differently for this one that I had the guys' full support on was we scored everything across 3 different approaches. So because it was WTC, you got 20 points for a win, 10 for a draw, blah blah blah. So you had up to 60 points you could be winning, like in your just gamesmanship. So then what I looked at doing was, how do I keep the other kind of just parts of the hobby live in this? So to me, sportsmanship and the painting hobby side of things are still such vital parts of even competitive Warhammer. Like, if you're a person winning super majors by horrible gotchas, army that barely looks like it's painted, you're not really capturing kind of the vibe of what the hobby is at its core. Like, I don't think everyone's going to be perfect at all the elements of the hobby, but like that's why I kind of scored it, so that you got points for doing things. Didn't mean it was necessarily a good attempt at it, but it was an attempt, right? So before I even announced what the kind of scoring was, Davey was doing a display board. He had this vibe that he really wanted to put in a bit more of effort and did a display board. He was the only person to get points for it. It didn't make the world of difference to its hobby score, because there was other bits that weren't there that other people had, but it was something that counted and it mattered. So that, and scoring people, so having opponents score each other, and it not just being, here's my favourite opponent, because I always find, especially in an RTT, your favourite opponent is often the last person you played if it was a great game. It tends to outweigh even like round one's opponents. Often they get forgotten. Like, it's tough, right? Like, it's very telling to me that sometimes, like, I'm guilty of this as well. Like, I'll be like, oh, I really enjoyed that game, I'll score them. And that's a shame because you've played 3 games, but one's more fresh. So, since I started painting my Dark Angels originally, I have slowly moved away from... When I first started painting their shoulder pads, they were just Mephiston Red. It meant that I had to go much... Oh god, my camera needs to be moved more. Or maybe I need to sit closer. There we go, that's what it is. It was Mephiston Red and then highlighted right up, and that didn't quite work. So, more recently I've been kind of... I say more recently, like, probably since the beginning of 10th, I've been painting Corn Red and working up from that. Like, same with the cloaks. Originally my cloaks and everything were a bright vivid red, which was lovely, but you have that problem where you look at it and go, I have to go brighter if I want to do any more. So I'm using a size 3 brush. I'm like, why am I struggling so much? I've got this really lovely problem now. I've got a load of cool brushes, but I always end up getting the wrong size out when I'm trying to do stuff. Ten's just said the top half of cool is just spaghetti arms. Yeah, and it's a beautiful model for that, but then combined with that, it's all quite linked up together, and then there's like robes. So it's not like you can just go, cool, I'll just paint everything silver and just be done with it, because there's robes, different types of cabling. It's such a difference to it. But that is one of those models that eventually I'd like to get around to painting one. Not because I want to play AdMech. There's occasionally I get the vibe of like, oh, I could enjoy doing that. I like that. It's the same reason I enjoy the concept of doing Necrons. I like the idea of playing them more than probably painting them though. So yeah, I've just looked and there's one bit of robe I haven't done. You might notice it if I hold it still and get a focus on it. The hood. So good at this, guys. And I've got a cup of tea in the way of my water bottle, my water tug. So I'm just going to swap them round. I'm playing the risky game, because I don't want to be in that situation where I'm like, cool, I've just dunked my paint water, my brush into my paint water, and then it's gone into my tea afterwards. I primed this with Raven Black spray from Colourforge, and I really like it, but I do occasionally get it where, especially the Pro Acryl paints, kind of pull and look a little bit wet on top of it, like it's got a slight shine to it. It eventually goes away, but it's at this stage where I then don't find I can just kind of paint straight onto it. I have to kind of paint on it and then touch it back up again. But right, let's adjust this further, because I seem to be painting. So when I'm trying to concentrate, my painting goes to here. Like I really kind of put it in close. Right, there we go. So when I'm holding things and trying to be delicate, I hold it against my body, so I have it kind of resting, which is fine, but it definitely means my camera was not in the right spot for it. Right, and this may seem weird. I painted the face the robe colour as well, but the way I see it is like painting the gaps between the robes and the head is tough, but if I now paint the face over it, it'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is I should have Bugman's Glow, there we go. So I'm actually painting slower than I would normally as well. So normally between rounds of painting something, I get out, where is it, my pesky little friend. So when I was a teenager, my dad won a little raffle at work at Christmas, and he won this little portable hairdryer. I have it plugged in by me at all times, and just if I've done a layer, and if it's a little bit wet and I'm impatient, I'll not overdo it, but I'll just give it a bit of a kind of a wipe over with the hairdryer, and it dries it up enough. I don't do it on things like texture paints because I find that it dries the top, and then you get this weird bit where it's wet in the middle, which is not ideal. Oh dearie me. Well, that cup of tea is very much needed. That was appreciated. Yeah, bracing I found is like, I've got slightly shaky arms. They've always been a little bit shaky, even when I was a kid. But the bracing kind of was a thing that I think my dad taught me, and I was just like, oh, that's really smart. And it means I can just be, I'm not the best painter, but it means I can at least put in a bit of effort. So, a bit of the robe colours going into the skin just means it's going to have a slightly pinkier complexion for the base layer, which I don't mind. But yeah, so my plan is the next one I'm going to start doing pairing cards. So at some point next week I'll do a poll on the YouTube channel, and you all can have your say on which faction I need to do first, because I think that's important, right? I want you guys to actually want to see what I'm going to draw. But the idea is it's going to be a bust of each faction. So imagine like your passport photo. So it gives an idea of what the faction looks like. And in theory, from a blink of looking at it from across the table, it should give away what the faction is. The downside I've had is if I paint, if I draw a specific thing that's like, say, Doddy on the team, he has Ratmech. So I've drawn lots of very clearly, it's an Admech guy that's a rat, or it's a Votan but it's a rat for him. But his opponents don't know that. So it'll be about making it so that it's a clear thing. So whether it's the iconic character, the default unit, like to me, whenever I'm drawing something like World Eaters, I tend to do things like Berserkers, because if you see that helmet, you know what it is. I think it's very clear that that's that faction. Same with Orcs. Sometimes it can be a bit weird if you do something that's a bit left field. Obviously, some of the stuff like Imperial Knights, you cannot really get around. It's like, I've drawn a big robot, and the amount of times people have gone, I don't recognise what that is, and it's like, well, that's a war dog. And it's the head, because you never see it. You're normally seeing it from above. Said, that's cool, I signed up sort of random for a TTS team thing, my first teams thing a bit ago. It's much more interesting than I expected. Yeah, it's strange, because like when I first heard about it, I was like, well, it's a game that you play on your own. I don't see what merit that's going to have to me playing a game. And then it's the context of things like the matchup itself. Like, the amount of times I've gone to an event and gone, if I go into the one matchup I don't want, that will cost me being anywhere near the podium. The reality is, that can be really frustrating, and that's one thing teams can remove, or it's the knowing you're going into it and how you handle it. And I think that sometimes it's that losing well thing that teams kind of coaxes into you, because the amount of times I just go, fuck it, it's singles, we go big or we go home, and I just make a risky thing. If I played it more cautiously, I probably could have kept it close. That's I always find interesting. There's never a perfect answer to it, but that definitely helps, right? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Alright, what bit should I do next? So I think I've got some more leather that I've missed, because apparently I'm incompetent at doing one colour at a time. So a bit more of the leather. And you will notice that I'm one of those horrible people that puts the paintbrush in their mouth, puts the paintbrush tip into my mouth to get a shape. I don't care. Blackwater Viking says, can't wait to play in the summer ITT. How's it going? Yeah, not bad, buddy. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's been a very long week. For those not with children, near education or anything like that, it's half term. So for me in the toy industry, it's a really busy week. It's a week of everything feeling like a blooming Saturday, which is lovely. Don't get me wrong, I would not have it any other way because it's keeping me in a job. But my God, I come home and I'm like, I could just do it going straight to bed. Which I'm never going to do. I said I was going to do this, so I'm doing it because it also forces me to hobby and hopefully forces you guys to do a bit of hobby as well, right? So 10 says, it definitely helps me, a very competitive person, get a feeling of winning, have a feeling of winning when I hold a really hard match up to a tie. Yeah, exactly. And it's getting it closer, like, not this LGT, but the one before, I went into most of my games going, I'm probably not going to win this one, but I know I can keep it close. And the thing I'd kind of gotten to that point, I think it was the first year of this edition, is I could basically keep most games to within 10 points because I could just grind it out. And that was my playstyle. At that point, I hadn't quite appreciated what my playstyle was. I still thought myself as quite an aggressive player, but in reality, I am a very defensive player. It just meant that then I'd go into those games now and look at it and go, okay, do I need to take risks? Do I build it to have more resilience? And it's just like, I look at it and go, oh, Sam says, well done, John, keep at it. I'm going to bed. Good shout, buddy, good shout. I'm probably going to do another half an hour because unlike the art stream, this is actually a little bit more chill because weirdly, doing art I find is a little bit more restless. And it's not because I'm not enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, I love drawing. It's a very physical thing. So like, even drawing with my tablet, you're kind of hunched over a table. A lot of it is through your shoulders. Like painting's got a little bit of that, but it is my hobby. Like it's the thing I'm doing to relax. So I'm doing that with you guys, which is nice, right? And the reason I wanted to do some of these streams as hobby was I found, especially during COVID, some of you might not have been back in the hobby or found the hobby by that point, but it was very nice that it was a way to kind of keep myself sat still. So having a reason to be sat here hobbying hopefully encourages you guys as well, which I think is kind of nice because you kind of go, okay, I can get on with even just an hour on the project you're working on, get some layers done, get some base colours on something. It's like, it all helps. Just heard a weird noise. I don't know where it came from because I set up my my paint rack today. IKEA have been out of stock of the clips for it for ages, so I've got horrible little white ones instead, but they'll do. But it means that it's now standing up and it leans a little bit, which does worry me. So, but it means all my paints are neatly up on a thing there. I've got the Kallax with everything else in front of it, so it's just neat. So having all my hobby stuff just tucked away is very helpful. There used to be a separate desk from my main one, which was lovely because it meant I could kind of keep the two things separate. But I do like the idea of like I've done it now, like for probably like over a month. I've been able to just kind of like paint something for an hour, 20 minutes, even just like do some base layers on something, put it back down, and not have to unpack my desk or move desks. It's there for the spontaneity. So even silly things like a video's uploading to YouTube, I will sit and I'll do some base layers, and that's nice. So if you've not got a permanent space setup, I would recommend it. Like, that was the one big thing that I learned from my dad, like more than anything, was having your dedicated hobby space. If you can make space for it, even if it's something like a small desk in a corner, just gives you somewhere to put things and it be there ready. It's very useful. Right. All the hooks holding stuff on to the rope. Yeah, this guy won't be done. So my next game of 40k, weirdly, I haven't played 40k apart from for events and a lot of Team Wales TTS stuff. In person, realistically, I did one in-person game for ITT, and before that it was probably an event before that. I've done quite a lot of events, but going to club and actually just playing a game of 40k has been a rarity, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm playing tomorrow night, and yeah, it's gonna be a weird list, but it'll be fun. Like, the Spartan will be out, and it can fit 28 models, because I think it was 14 Terminators, so yeah, 28. So it's going to be a unit of Blade Guard, a unit of Inner Circle Companions, both with characters, and then I can put some other stuff in there as well, because I may as well, right? I really like the idea of just putting everything in a clown car, because that just sounds stupid, and stupid is my favourite speed. Right. The downside to spraying with a can, this guy to prime him, was this back bit here by the cape. The cape kind of covered stuff, so it's like a weird blind spot where I look and it's kind of half grey, half the black grey that it should be. So I'm having to kind of fill in the gaps, which isn't the worst, but it certainly isn't the best. So if I was to build this conversion again, I would probably just leave him not attached, but I think if I hadn't, it would have been just bits lying around in a bits box to get forgotten about. So sometimes me finishing a model in this respect definitely helps. Like that Azrael proxy I've got, he's not attached to his base for my ease for painting, but as a result he is just floating around waiting to get damaged. It's doing that thing where it kind of pulls a little bit because it's a slightly porous surface. I think it is what explains it. It's like not porous. Yeah, porous lets the water in. I don't know. Whichever way around it is, it just doesn't seem to let the whatever the acrylic is in the spray doesn't seem to like other paints sitting on top of it, which, as primers go, can be a bit of a pain in the arse. Not gonna lie. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's a good start, I think. Definitely feels like I'm getting somewhere with him already. So, at 5 o'clock tonight, this model was literally bare plastic. Had been sat on the side for weeks. So, sometimes just making these commitments to do something, even though I've only spent like an hour putting some base layers down, definitely looks better for it, and I think we should all do a bit more of that. So the one thing we're also going to start trying to do part of this show as well is start doing some of the community hobby kind of competitions and stuff, because they were really cool. This time last year we were running those lovely painting competitions. I think it was Tom was running them, leading the front with them. It was just fun. Encouraging us all just to do a bit of hobby work, especially when it's a specific thing like here is a character, please do a character. I was like, okay, cool, don't need to encourage me. Right, I need a grey for stone. Right, this is the challenge, that they're all in weird and wonderful places now. Storm vermin fur, that'll do. This is the other problem I have when painting. It's like, it's just off camera. In fact, let me show you. They start pooling up like this. By the end of it, I'll have paint everywhere, and everyone will be like, oh, that's a bit messy. I'm like, yeah. At least when it was my one desk that did just do painting, it could all sit there, and I'd just leave it there. It did get to the point where, before this stream, I had a whole box lid covered in them, just next to me on the side of my desk, and I was like, I don't need 50 paints. It's all the paints I was using specifically on the Rough Riders, which is fine, but I definitely don't need them now. Okay. Yeah, this base, so the model itself, the Khan has trees and grass and everything sculpted on it. It's really cool. The grass is going to get texture painted over, but the stones I've left on because they are essentially what strengthens the model so that it floats, and I think that's important. Like, it's better than it being just a stick holding him up, because I just hate clear plastic. Yeah, the hobby competitions were really fun, weren't they, Ten? I didn't get involved in all of them myself because I'm always finding a way to be too busy. That's, I think, one of my biggest weaknesses, especially with hobby stuff. I go, oh, I'll do this and this, and then it's too much, but it's all good. But yeah, what I might do is for the next one, do something themed around whatever I'm drawing or whatever, which would be fun. Right, what do we do next? The parchment on the book needs to be some sort of off ivory-ish colour. That Screaming Skull, that's probably a bit too... Ooh, Morghast Bone. So, Morghast Bone is probably one of my favourite recent paints they added to the range in like the last few years. Because what I love about it is that it's quite an even covering paint. It's not the best paint, it's quite yellow. I use it as the base colour on my Ocelot Bone Reapers. Ah, Jash, here you go. This is Sammael. He's looking zippy. I'm very much working through just doing all the basic layers. But what I like about Morghast Bone is that it's just good for coverage, because a lot of the bones and whites and the grey light colours that Games Workshop do, I always find are a bit, they're either really thin, like wishy-washy, or ridiculously chunky, like the chalkiness to them. And this felt like it was kind of somewhere in the middle, which was nice. So it really works well dry brushed over brown. I do enjoy that for the Ossiarchs. It ended up being like an army where I painted the first 2,000 points Ed style in like a week, but I did it in one of the hottest weeks of the year using graffiti brown spray paint. It was fine, apart from I didn't quite appreciate that because it was waterproof, then I tried to paint over it and failed miserably, but it was also one of the hottest times of the year that year, and it meant that it all went dusty. So I had 2,000 points of it all looking very dusty, struggled to paint over it as a result. So what I've done slowly is I've repainted stuff after varnishing it. But as you may have seen, there's a lot of new releases for those guys. So I'm planning to paint a lot of that, so I'll be using a lot of this paint again. But with the Colour Forge sprays being so kind of reasonable, apart from sometimes I get this issue where it's a little bit, doesn't really like the water kind of going on top of it. I found it really good for the brown. I use it on my orcs now as like a base layer for orcs, because then any of the recesses have got quite a warm feeling. The plan I'm going to do for the launch box for the orcs is I'm actually going to paint a lot of purple for the recesses. So the logic behind that is, if you actually look at a colour wheel, if you put the shadows of green with like a purple to it, it looks like, so a good example is you look at broccoli. The two colours fit perfectly, and it's like when you actually see it painted, the recesses being that purple looks really cool. Glory to the 4th Legion. Oh dear, oh dear. And this is the worst bit, is you say 4th Legion and my brain goes, I don't know which one the 4th Legion is. It clearly isn't one of the cool ones, because it's not number 1. Is it White Scars? Is it White Scars? I'm all for it, and I'm like, Heresy's the thing that, like, to me it used to be the unknown. It was this theoretical thing that happened. So when I got back into the hobby 8-9 years ago and they'd started doing the books and explaining it all, I was like, oh, this fleshed out now, cool, there's a bit to it. I'm catching up finally, so I'm on like book 3. I say catching up, I will get there. I'll get there, guys. Although I am currently listening to the Night Lords trilogy. So everyone keeps talking about how good those books are. And as much as I hate the Night Lords because I think they're stupid and they just don't interest me as a faction, I love the idea of understanding my enemy better, so I can make sassy jokes about what happens to them all as well. Like, there is some tragedy to them, but at the same time, oh well. Right. I would Google which one the 4th Legion is, but I'm too lazy. And I probably don't care enough, because I'm that rubbish. Yeah, that was one of the deciding factors of doing Dark Angels initially, was all this sort of gumph that you get on the kits, all the extra detailing, all this fun stuff. When picking a Space Marine army, this was when I was tail end of 7th. I just painted up I topped up my old orcs to make them 2,000 points. 4th is Fists. Oh, even worse. They're not even a real faction. I'm sorry. Like one of my team at work is obsessed with her Imperial Fists, and it means that I quite often switch off when they're talked about, because being told about really cool things that you can do whilst just having your army stand still is just not my cup of tea. I think as a scheme though, fantastic. And Dawn's interesting, but I just never understood if you're gonna have like Space Marines with shields, why aren't they just wearing robes to go with it? Like, and if you're going to build walls, why not build mazes? Like, the more I read and learned about what the Line got up to in the Heresy, the more I kind of interested me. But yeah, I think Dawn's one that because I'm so early into the Heresy books as well, I haven't seen him really come up in them. So I've not had kind of the chance to get to know the flawed Primarch that he obviously is, because they're all flawed, right? But it's like when I first got back into the hobby, it was popular and cool, and probably still is to some extent, to kind of go Ultramarines with it and mock Gilliman. I actually quite like him as a character. I think it's interesting how they show him as this whole fish out of water, coming back to... It's almost the Captain America kind of thing, right? Like, coming back a man at a time, and he comes back to everything's gone wrong. Everything that his dad said, don't let this happen, happened. I think that's the real tragedy, is like, to win the Heresy, the Imperium has to fail. And I think that's why I like it all, because I was a bit of a drama kid at school, did enjoy my Shakespeare, and it is basically a Greek tragedy wrapped up in Shakespeare, stealing stuff from lots of other cool books. So it's like, it's not surprising that got my attention as a kid, I suppose. In reality, just like there was space orcs punching stuff in space. Yeah, Night Lords are great, especially if you think about how well they die against Dark Angels. Oh, what was that? I got a cool notification. And thank you to Jake1404 for subscribing. Much appreciated, buddy. We don't just do me doing hobby stuff and painting and drawing stuff. We also do a lot of competitive conversations, talking about new rules, lots of guides on how to play the game, and all the elements and facets of the hobby. So yeah, hopefully we shall spoil you with our back catalogue and all the new feature stuff coming. So, like, we had a video today where I did about how to play Warhorde Orcs. There was a book about list building for a video about list building for teams with Necrons, which was two of the England guys. So it's Matt Bell, who does some Necron specific content with us, and Chris Kinnair from England as well. So pretty competent gamers. If I'm being kind of modest to them, that's probably underselling them. And then we did, Chris did a video this week for members only as well about how he's doing something else again. I have a funny feeling it's related to the fact that he's taking 1,000 Suns army on the weekend. which is an army that he is not explicitly known for, and is probably a bit out of his comfort zone. But makes sense, right? It's like when someone plays things like Grey Knights, and then there's the opportunity to play a Chaos version of them in some respects, like a psychic heavy force. Probably playstyle wise they are as close as they could be to being similar, but also so different at the same time though. I find it very fascinating. It's like, I liked the idea of going, oh, I really like melee, so I'm clearly going to go World Eaters. And then when I actually played them, I was like, this is actually quite different a playstyle to what I was expecting, but in a good way. Yeah. But we're all guilty of that, right? You get excited about trying something new. And the joy is, especially when you're in a team like we are, that there's 30 odd people. Between us, we've probably got every army, so if you're ever curious enough to try something, you can borrow. And I think at this, we were chatting about this on the Tuesday show this week, about just borrowing armies and giving it a whirl, especially when there's the production lag, right? If you say, I really want to try the new Necron stuff because it all looks a bit overcooked, just borrow a friend's Necrons. Like, by the time you actually would paint it, it's probably going to not be what it is now. So if you want to just enjoy the hotness and kind of, even just to break it down and understand it, to play against it, I think that's quite wise at times. Right. I'm going to go find my Caliban Green, because although I don't paint my Dark Angels Caliban Green anymore, I do use it as an accent colour and purple, just to match up with what the faction should look like, at least in theory. So, some of you guys may have seen some of my stuff posted about my Dark Angels, but they are technically not Dark Angels. They are a successor chapter that I wrote some background lore for back in Tut-Dare, back in 7th edition. They are called the Brotherhood of Redemption, and the idea behind them is that they were a battle cruiser floating around above Caliban during the kind of the turning of Caliban, where they kind of, the line shot at them, they shot back, all that sort of gumph. These guys sat there and were indecisive. They didn't know what they were going to do, so they didn't make a decision. And so their guilt, on top of the fact that they're the Dark Angels and supposedly a traitor legion potentially, they just, because they didn't take a side, they felt incredibly guilty about it. And it's maybe just more me kind of picking up on it's something a bit different. But the logic to them is that they had the candy red shoulder pads. I introduced things like having the gold trim on those shoulder pads as well, so they're a little bit different. But then when the line came back, I really liked the idea of, I started painting some black armor for some things, and something clicked for me and I went, I really enjoy this, and I'm going to just do that for my whole army. So I'd slowly been converting stuff. So I'd done a kill team of Fallen, which were basically just my excuse for painting the kill team Angels of Death, but not painting them as a normal chapter or as my chapter. I enjoyed painting them in the black armor so much, and I'd already started doing things like all my fast attack are in black, so anything, not just the Raven Wing, are all in black. So my Inceptors, my Jump Pack Intercessors, they're all wearing Raven Wing colours. And so my kind of logic was, oh, the lion's back. To honour the lion, they have started repainting their armour black back into the Legion colours. So my army is now a lot of the time just black armour guys. It now means as well that when I'm doing other spin-off projects, like I've started doing some Space Wolves, so I've got, like, here you go, this is my Wolf Battle Leader. I'm using the blue for the pelts, but the armour is still that black. I'm doing yellow shoulder pads though, so that there's, if I'm using models across factions, they fit, but also don't look weird. So I'm just trying to make it so that I'm being smart with my hobby as well. Like, one of my biggest regrets, but also one of my favourite bits of the hobby, has been having a faction that I'm kind of playing. It's definitely challenging though when it's like, oh, my sub-faction isn't the hot one, what do I do? And the reality is you just play whatever's the good one if it's for an event. And that's fine, right? My plan, once I've got all these Dark Angel bits and bobs racked away, is I've got, I think it's another unit of breaker boys to do, and one more unit of tank busters, I think, and then I've got all the New York stuff done and painted and prepped so that whatever lands for the new edition, I can hit the ground running to some extent. Like, every end of edition, I get into the situation where I go, I think it was the end of 8th, I was like, I'm going to build World Eaters. Started doing that project. It was a lovely concept, but the reality was they were essentially just Chaos Space Marines at that point. So I started building things like, I've got a Foot Chaos Lord that happens to be a Corn Dude. Problem is, they don't have rules. So when the army dropped as its own thing, and they didn't have rules for a lot of my models I'd built and painted, I just went, you know what, can't be bothered, I'll wait. It keeps being something I wait on. Like, the gold trim is certainly a deterrent for me, unfortunately. But yeah. But I'll get to them. But I don't, I've started to learn not to just force myself onto a project. I need to want to be doing the project, but it's not what I want to give up on. A lot of the time with hobby stuff, if I'm really excited by the concept of it and then it fizzles, I do tend to just go, okay, I'll just get that gone. Like my Necrons, I think I enjoyed playing them more than the idea of painting them. So I borrowed them, enjoyed that, then bought a load of cheap Necrons through the magazines, but then never did anything with them. So the first year I went to WTC, I painted a load to lend to our Necron player, which was fine, but I didn't need to be painting them for someone else realistically. If anything, that could have been time spent painting my launch box. But it is what it is. That said, doing the whole painting things to match, there's one thing at the moment I'm not even considering doing, which is buying things like Titus and the Wardens of Ultramar. Like, sure, they're really good at the moment, I just don't care enough. Like, if it's something I want to do and it interests me, and it's not necessarily about it not being competitive, don't get me wrong. Like, if it's competitive, it definitely helps and gives me a motivation to use them. Like, if a unit's that bad in the game, sometimes it's really hard to justify. Like, I don't own a Firestorm, whatever it's called, the little las cannon turret thing, and I don't own a bunker. Do I own stupid terrain for a lot of other things? Yeah, I've got the boss bunker for my orcs. The difference is I use it as terrain. I don't think I wouldn't paint Ultramarines, not without just actually going, right, I'm going to do a load of Ultramarines and make a thing of it. It's not necessarily my jam for this time, but right. So that is actually quite a bit of the way there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the sword primed, like base layered, and then I might call it a day at that point. What I will say though is, if any of you guys have been hobbying along, put in the Discord what you've been working on. It'd be cool to see, because what I'm going to try to do is share and kind of celebrate what we've all achieved at the end of the stream, because I think it's really cool. Do I have drop pods? I have 2 drop pods. Since the end of 7th, I've had this drop pod. This is how old it is. That I've literally covered it in Nuln oil. It's primed on the inside, and that's as far as it's stayed. It's literally sat on my painting desk, floating around since. So I do own drop pods. I don't want to use them. I think the problem I have is I've got almost a bit of a bias where I like the idea of them more than what they do. When you're playing things like Space Marine 2 and it drops in and it's got like your ammo and guns and stuff, that makes sense, but for everything else, it doesn't make so much sense. I'm more of a teleportarium kind of guy, I think. Like, I grew up watching Star Trek, I watched Blake 7, any excuse to go onto a teleporting like platform and get dropped down through some sort of cool technology. That was more my jam. Like watching, I think it was the launch for Leviathan, watching them have the Terminators appear out of nowhere, that was cool. That was very cool. Yeah, so bright purple sword for the power weapon. Yeah. gosh, banging. So I set up this camera today, and it's literally just at exactly my armor height, so I can do like that. I just bang it, and it'll be fine. But at the same time, do not need to be banging it. Right, the leather book I've put on this because I wanted to give it a reference to like him and the Talon Masters of old. That's one thing I'd like to see them return with, is the Talon Master. But I do like the idea of maybe it being more a character that is on a bike, maybe a jet bike like this. Make it a little bit more different in its own way. I don't know. What's the answer? Oh, there you go. So the paint there did exactly what I said it's been doing earlier, which was driving me mad, which is it's just kind of pulled on the surface. But once it's thickened, it seems to be alright, but it's funky. Right, I think that is probably a very sensible place to leave him. Oh, he's got the Aquila on his chest. So if I'm doing stuff in black armor, I quite often do the Caliban green for that. If it's a character, I've done it often with, if it's in white armor, I've done it with gold. Especially on things like my blade guard, I went with that. But for this black, I think it kind of looks cool having the Caliban green, because it just gives a slight accent colour. It's acknowledging that I've essentially reversed a lot of the scheme on some of my bits. I did do, during the end of 8th edition, some, what are they called, intercessors, where I didn't attach the arms, and I found doing the Aquila so much easier then. But I spent so much time painting them and then covering them up that I actually, it wasn't the fact that it was quicker, but it also meant I could see and change a lot more. So I once got given a piece of advice that was like, only paint what you can see. And yes, to an extent, like there's times where if you angle this guy and go like that, you could, like that, you can see into the back of the bike. Oh, there we go. That stuff you wouldn't see 90% of the time, but I'm still going to paint things like the sea, because it really bothers me when you can't. Right, let's move this out of the way, and I can put the figure a bit more in view now as well. But yeah, I think this has been alright. Hopefully it's not been too scuffed, but yeah, this, as a conversion goes, I've definitely enjoyed building it, at least. So getting this guy to the tabletop would be really nice, and I'd like to put him into a battle report, because I think that'd be really cool, right? Having this guy fly in front of some outriders as they then smash in and do extra damage on the charge. But let's go and have a quick look and see if anyone's posted anything in the Discord, because I love sharing everyone else's work, because I think that's really cool, being able to kind of celebrate what we've all achieved during the stream, because if we're encouraging each other on to get stuff done, no one's posted anything yet, but that's cool. We'll try again in a future one. So I know that in the previous one people posted afterwards, so if you are hobbying on anything, when it gets to a state that you feel happy to share it, post it in the Discord. We've got a work in progress shots chat, and then we've also got showing off, which is the showing off one I really love to go and browse, because you just see people's finished work and it's just really cool to see it done. So yeah, so there was Sylvester posted a week ago his Kassakin, and they look really cool, and I appreciated seeing some Kassakin with genuinely like the more modern warfare-y style kind of grey. It kind of makes me kind of go, ooh, maybe I should do some guard again, because I keep debating it. It's one of those things where I love the idea of it more than, like, I think it's because I like the idea of playing like an Armageddon campaign where I've got some Steel Legion to go against some orcs, and it'd be fun. But the reality is, I want to get them painted. I had some Praetorians, painted 5 of them. That's as far as I got. Right, so rather than waffling on some bit more, I'm going to wrap it up for the evening, guys. So it's been a lovely pleasure to have you along for the ride. Hopefully me sitting waffling, got some hobby for you guys done as well. And then I think next week we're back to a TTS fight night. There may be a new show launching the week after that as well. We'll announce that when there's more details. There'll be the Tuesday show as per usual, and at least a couple of videos, because we seem to be kind of doing less of them, but making them longer, maybe a bit more in depth, and a bit more kind of interactive perhaps. So until next time, take care guys.